Good morning and welcome to the Young Professionals Committee's Professional Development Series on Technical Skills in the NSPS Certified Survey Technician Program. I'm Keith Burley. I'm a surveyor with Marks Engineering out of Canandaigua, New York. And also joining me is Ashley Metz with MJ Engineering in Albany. Good morning, Ashley.
Hello there.
We also have joining us Mike Lewis from GDB Geospatial on Long Island. Hi, Mike.
How are you doing? And
we also have Matt Palmer, a surveyor with the DOT, Department of Transportation. Morning, Matt.
Hi.
Our guest today is Richard Brooks, a senior project manager at Control Point Associates. Mr. Brooks has been a licensed land surveyor since 1984. He founded his own survey practice in 1990 with his wife, Patricia, that was recently purchased by Control Point Associates. Mr. Brooks sits on the NYSAPLS NSPS committee and is the New York State Coordinator for the NSPS Certified Survey Technician Program. Good morning, Mr. Brooks, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. So we're gonna go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, get right into it. First question, what exactly is the Certified Survey Technician Program?
Well, it's a national accreditation program for our survey technicians, and it's been in place since 1986, I believe, developed by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. The National Society of Professional Surveyors, of course, is a membership corporation where if you're a member of NYSAPLS, you're a member of the National Society. And it was founded, or it was recognized rather, that very early on that there was a whole subset of surveyors, assistants, or survey technicians that really had no desire to become licensed, but rather would like to make surveying a career. So NSPS developed this program. It's been refined over the years, and now it's extremely successful throughout the country.
Now, Mr. Brooks, I'm just looking at the track here, and there's 4 different levels. Is it common that each person going through this program goes through all the levels, or do you see people kind of getting to a certain level and sticking with it, or do they typically progress all the way to the final level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the vast majority of people that I'm involved with actually stop at some certain level and then maintain that. I do have and have had within New York, when I say I'm talking about New York State, of course, a lot of people use this program to start preparing for the 3 exams to licensure. You know, the FS, the PS, and then the New York State Pacific. And in fact, we just taught the New York State Pacific last week. And in there, we had 2 people who had started their CST track and are using that testing to, 1, number, get used to the testing they're going to be up against, and number 2, to become more familiar with and help them with the FS exam.
So hearing that, I didn't really perceive it in that way of using as a form of preparation for the exams. Is the testing for the CST similar in formatting to the 3 exams towards licensure?
Well, by the time you get up to level 3 and level 4, there are some similarities. There are a couple of states that if you get to the level 4, they recognize that as qualification to enter their state specific testing mode.
Very cool. Did not know that.
Hey, stick with me.
Very nice. All right, I'm ready for some questions from the rest of our committee members here.
I have a question for a new employee who it's hard to gauge someone's knowledge of surveying when they come into the profession brand new. But if somebody wanted to get into a level 1, what kind of preparatory reading, studying experience would you suggest they start with? And is there like a minimum amount of say, wait 6 months, wait a year, or is it more based on how fast you can maybe study certain materials?
Well, of course, it's a self-study program, right? So a lot of it is how fast you want to move up through that program. But the level one level didn't make quite sense. But at that level one, that's open to anybody with just a general knowledge of surveying, specifically geared toward the new survey technician. And it's a good and then from level one, of course, there's an experience component. Right, so if you go up to level two, you need a year and a half of experience to get accepted to take the exam. Each level you have to submit an application, and it gets reviewed by the board, and you're accepted to take the exam. But the level, going back to the question, sorry, the level one is geared towards somebody with just a very basic general knowledge.
So there's a board at NSPS that handles those applications.
Yeah, the NSPS has the Certified Survey Technician Board, and they're mostly made up of educators, you know, active professors or retired professors, and they maintain the integrity of the test and the certification levels, so that they're a little particular who they allow to come up through. And then, you know, they've set the testing questions and stuff.
What is the application process like, Mr. Brooks? Is it pretty involved?
No,
Okay.
not involved at all. Just a general applications, and they can be found on the, I'll give you some websites later, but very simple to, not simple, but very basic in the level of detail you require. It's not like submitting for the New York State Pacific exam where you need people to certify your experience and such.
Right, gotcha. Sorry, Matt, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so how do you go to a testing center to take the test? Is it an online test? How does that work?
I'm glad you asked that question, Matt. The number, it's up to the applicant to identify who he or she can use as a proctor. So the answer to your question is no, it's not a testing center, but rather it's a one-on-one or a one-on how many applicants there are who has been qualified as a proctor. Again, a proctor has to submit their application, and the board approves each individual proctor. And that's probably the biggest question I get asked. I have to field, and I've been doing this for about 10 years now. That's the biggest question I receive is, how do I get a proctor? Well, just like the studying, right? It's a self-study criteria, plus it's your identification of a proctor. And once you get into the website, you can see it, and it's not onerous. It's pretty basic. Again, it's relatively easy to get approved as a proctor. There's certain criteria, like can't be your wife or your husband, you know, or your immediate bosses or anything like that. But it's a pretty liberal.
So if I worked with Matt at the DOT and we were just colleagues, could he be my proctor for me to sit for those exams?
No.
Okay.
But if you were working for DOT and there was somebody, you know, that you don't work with, like right away mapping or something like that, that you don't really, you know, but you don't have a relationship with, the answer is yes.
Okay. Very good.
Right. So this is, you know, it's a professional accreditation. So a little bit of this is on the applicant's professionalism and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm president of our Genesee Valley region. Would I be able to like host a time, like a date for people to come in and, you know, if they are already applied and everything, would they come in and take the test if I had a site and everything picked out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we do down here in Mid-Hudson. We have a couple of surveyors who will come in for the day and they're already pre-approved proctors. If we get, 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are sort of taking the exams at the same time, we offer it to them.
Good idea.
And it's a great, it's a great service from the regional NYSAPLS level to reach out into the survey technician world. And that's part of the problem we have with the program, right? We really don't have, we have a database of every surveyor and all their contact information in the state of New York, but we really don't have a database of technicians. So getting the word down through the professional surveyor level down into the technician level is always a challenge. So, which is how this forum is great for the CST program.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, what is the cost to take each exam? Are they all the same cost, or do they increase as you go up in levels?
They're all the same cost. And if you happen to fail one of the exams, you can retake with no cost up to a year after that.
Very cool. And so say I put my application in tomorrow for one of the exams, what is the typical turnaround time to whether you've been accepted or not?
It's measured in a few weeks.
Oh, that's quick then. Very good.
Yeah, well, NSPS has staff just dedicated to the CST program.
Okay.
And they're very accessible.
Right. Very cool. Ashley, what do you have for us?
I was thinking, we here at the Young Professionals Committee, we're talking about this, technician track, and to link right into Mr. Brooks's, comment that we have a database of professional land surveyors, but we don't have very many technicians that either know that they have an associate membership program through NYSAPLS or anything through NSPS. I think my question would be, can we use our platform here to reach out to those professionals who have associate members or even just technicians, and have them say, this is a wonderful opportunity for you. There's multiple benefits. So you should really consider taking this track to develop yourself professionally. How do we reach those professionals and convince them that this is a worthwhile endeavor to pursue?
When I first brought this program into our office, and that was 2013, I think. Patty's my wife, who we spoke of. She got mentored to be on the NSPS board representing New York State. And once that happened, she sort of turned around and looked me square in the eye and said, you know what, you're going to do this. Which is how I started. Up to that point where I really wasn't paying attention to the CST program. Once I started doing it, I realized how important it is to, the growth of our profession, as far as having people be able to step up and shepherd, the professionalism of land surveying. So what was the question?
Sorry, I'm a little long-winded. The question is, how can we take, and our presentation that we're doing today and take that to professionals and convince them that this is a worthwhile program for their associates or their technicians?
I think one of the ways, the only way I've been able to get dialed down into the technician level is by calling other surveyors and saying, hey, what about your technicians? Or I have been invited to many regionals to talk to the regional meeting type of deal. And then the only other outreach we've been able to do is articles, which are, well, the articles, of course, are geared toward the licensed professionals, but encouraging them to spread the word, if you will. And, it's up to the licensed professional, not up to, but there's an awareness that the typical licensed professional really isn't recognizing about the CST program. We have, when we do a proposal, right, and you guys, I'm sure, involved with proposals also, but we identify who's going to be working on that particular project. And when we do that, you know, we have the partner involvement, and then we have the project manager, who's the licensed surveyor, who's going to be involved. And then under that, we list the staff we're going to use. And after that name, because it is an accredited program, that they have the CST title. And sometimes, you know, just write it out, Certified Survey Technician Level 3. And it really gives a little oomph and a leg up to the company, because it shows to the reviewer of the proposal that, you know, there's a more qualified, or maybe the perception is that they're more qualified than the typical staff that a land surveying firm is proposing.
That's interesting. So there are benefits to the employer or to the manager to have their employees go through this program.
Yeah, you know, I do a lot of legal work also, and I've been on the stand and I've been asked by the opposing attorneys, well, you know, did you do this work yourself? And, you know, the answer is always partially, but I rely on the technicians. And then they get into, you know, what the capabilities of the technicians who I used on the project. And, you know, so you talk about their education, if they have education, and then you throw in the, well, they are also nationally certified survey technicians. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to having a staff that believes in this program.
So this could be certainly used as a tool to set your company apart from others, to show that you do have qualified, certified people on staff, that a client can have confidence in that staff, and not only you as a licensed professional or the business owner. I can see you, we're just having general conversations with our clients where that may make a difference and set us apart from another local company that may not bring that up in conversation or on a proposal. That's a really good point. I never thought of it that way. So, you know, we briefly spoke about the benefits of the program for somebody using this as a stepping stone towards licensure. But if you can just kind of briefly give us, you know, your top 10 benefits for technicians that are not interested in getting licensed, and how this program can further their career, further their development as a professional. Because I truly believe that you can be a professional in this job without being licensed. They're an important part of our world here. And I just really like how this does give them a platform to move up and gain knowledge. So if you want to give us your top 10 on that, that would be really great.
Top 10. Are you going to count?
No, I won't count, but it's just kind of a general rule there. I always like top 10s.
Okay. What we've seen, right, and we have, I think, 3 or 4 employees who are 15 years plus with us. And they're all CSTs, and they became CSTs because either one, they thought they would never have the wherewithal to get to licensure, or they just don't want to be licensed. So but they love surveying. So having that CST program and those CST letters after their name on their business cards gives them a real sense of belonging to the profession. That should count for 2 of them, right?
Yeah, that's at least 2 or 3.
The other thing, most of the firms that I'm familiar with that are actively using CSTs and using them in their proposals, once they pass the individual levels, they either get a bonus or a salary bump. So that's an incentive, because you can't make an employee get into this program, right? You can suggest it, and oh, by the way, when we were Brooks and Brooks, that first level 1 was a $500 bonus. And then as it went up, and once we got to the level 2, it was a $1,000 bonus. And then it escalates into licensure, which is a few $1,000s. So, but anyway, that, you know, that is the motivating factor. And that sets them apart also. And that's been very well received. CST, once you get licensed, or not licensed, but once you get that accreditation, there is an annual fee to maintain that, much the way, you know, licensed land surveyors have to deal with. And I think that's like $35 a year, I think.
So to that end, if there's is there a refresher course that somebody needs to take that goes along with it, or is it?
No, there is no refresher course.
In your experience, do you find that a lot of these firms are paying for their technicians to take these the tests to get to the various levels throughout their
Yes.
career?
Yes, I see that a lot. And you know, when you're sitting at an interview and the firm interviewing you says, oh, by the way, we participate in the CST program and we give bonuses or salary bumps, it really makes the technician pay attention a little bit more, because here's the company supporting your professional level at the technician level.
Something that just popped into my head here is, you know, we all love New York, we live here, and we're members of NYSAPLS, but if we have somebody that has a life change and moves out of state, and since this is a nationally recognized program, they sit down for an interview and they have one of these levels, I would imagine that that's going to have a serious amount of weight with the company that they're interviewing with, that it's going to show that that technician is putting forth that time and effort to further their development. And I didn't really think of it in that way before this discussion. So I think there's some real power in that as well, if you do have to move from state to state.
Unlike your licensed land surveying license, I should say, unlike your land surveying license, the CST accreditation is portable throughout the country. And in some different countries also, like Canada and Mexico, use it. Yeah, and it just stays with you. It's portable.
Do you see most people making it all the way up to level 4, or people tapping out earlier? Or?
You know, that's a great question. I'm going to follow up on that, and because I don't know what the percentages is. You can start if your application meets you could start at the level 3.
If you've been working for a few years already, and you can just
Correct.
jump
If
right
you
in.
and you have a good resume and stuff like that, you can put your application in for the level 3. Level 4, and these are all 1, 2, and 3 are all multiple choice questions. Level 4 is an assignment, and I think you have a month to complete it. So that's more a business type question. What would be a good example? Oh, your employer would like you to explore cost benefit of adding UAVs to their scope of services they can provide. And then you'd have a month to research that, and you would research what type of UAV first, cost of that, what type of software you're proposed to using, how it's going to work out on your different projects. So it's quite a comprehensive take-home exam.
So there's separate tracks between office and field between the levels?
Yeah, and even the field level has a split in it too. You know, it sort of Y's out and then comes back in. Well, you have the yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if your
Construction.
company's primarily doing construction and that's what you love to do, or you're down in Manhattan laying out high rises or something, and that's what you want to do, you can split it off up into there. Whereas if your boundary, so the test will be different, right?
So I assume the level 4 for the field side is maybe like a boundary issue or problem that you have to kind of work through.
Yeah, more a management problem.
Hmm.
May have something to do with managing field crews or something like that, or training.
Okay.
Your employer says he needs, in the next 5 years, he needs another 5 licensed surveyors. We set up a program to have that so the company can achieve that.
Interesting.
And
I
you have a
didn't
month-
realize.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I didn't realize that level 4 there was involved. I just figured most of them were. I figured it was like the rest of it where it's just all multiple choice, but that's interesting.
And
So for
can
level,
somebody-
go,
go ahead,
sorry, sorry, Mike, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, can somebody track both ways? Can they do a level 3 party chief boundary, and then as they're gaining experience, say, you know what, I'm a hybrid type of an employee. I do field and office. I'd like to be certified as a chief CAD operator. Is
Absolutely,
it kind
right?
of one carry
Because
across?
you can't sit for the land surveying exam unless you can show your competency not only in the field but also in the office. We just had the new executive director of the State Board of Engineering, Land Surveying, and Geology at one of our classes at the NYSAPLS conference. And he's very much aware of the CST program, the importance it helps in the professional development of the applicants to take the New York State Pacific.
Keith, it's your time to shine.
Sorry, Ashley, I didn't hear you.
I said, Keith, go ahead. You've been
Oh,
waiting.
okay. Sorry for cutting people off there. I honestly think it's really cool how you can get certifications in both tracks there. I did not know that. I was under the impression that you could only go one track. So just to correct me if I'm wrong. So level 1 and level 2 are both multiple choice exams. And then when you go to level 3 and level 4, that's more the long-winded response, and you have a month to complete both of those. Is that correct?
No, level 3 is a multiple choice also.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I think we've had new changes. The board did some changes to us at the beginning that come into effect January this year. So, well, I'll get back to that, I guess. But yeah, proctoring used to be a problem. And if you were a professor teaching a class and some of your students wanted to take that exam, that teacher or that professor was not allowed to proctor, but now they are. And we have, the colleges that do have survey programs, both of them are using the CST as part of, I know Alfred was using the CST level 1, level 2 as a measure of their adequacy as far as measuring how adequate the program they were teaching was.
That's interesting. So when they come out of school, they expect them to be at a level 1 or 2, depending on how much experience they got.
Yes.
That was one of my questions I was going to ask would be, comparing to a college student, what level could, they equate to? That's wonderful. A big push that we've been trying to figure out within our young professionals group is how do we reach people who don't have time to go back to college to gain experience, become a professional land surveyor. Is this track something that could offset that? If you're not if you don't want to become a licensed land surveyor, or you're making a late career change, would this be something that would be comparable to, at the very least, getting some accreditations?
Absolutely. I taught as an adjunct professor at our local community college. They had a associates in land surveying. That program's now sunsetted, I think 6 years ago. I'm not sure. But in that class, the majority of the students in that class were people changed their major, or they were adults coming in to learn a new trade. And the adults, and the majority were adults. Now, students are adults too, but you know what I mean. Somebody who is out in the workplace at a different job and now is interested in surveying and starting that as a new career. And those people would never travel to Alfred or Paul Smith's at the time, or Wanakina, and stay away from their families and their life to get an education. So they were at the community college level, which all the community colleges have shut down their programs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Does NSPS distribute any study guides and materials like that to help you with the self-study?
Yeah, it's what the NSPS website is www.cstsps.com, which is up on your screen. That is the go-to website for information. And when you pull that landing page up, you'll see all the pull downs. And that's new within the last 3 years. That's been established. You used to have to go to the NSPS main page, which has just volumes and volumes of information. It was hard to dig out and through the NSPS stuff. So they separated everything out to this website.
I don't know who's sharing the screen, but maybe we pull that up. I know there's some sample tests on there. I don't know if
Yeah, there's everything in there, because the exams all have different work groups. And the work group is a category of work. So it could be anything from first aid is a work group, down to traverse adjustment, down including survey types, depending what level you are. So you can get a background of the types of work groups that you're going to be tested on the exam. And then there's guides as to study for them. And then you can self-test. There's practice exams on there. I think there were usually 25 questions or something. But those sample exams, we got one coming up. This is for level 1, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the type.
Yeah, this is the trig. There was yeah, I think if you go,
That was the trig, yeah.
Yeah, that's the trig star stuff.
Yeah.
I think if you go up to programs, there's the CST, yeah, Certified Survey Technician.
Yeah, and this is on the NSPS website, right? So, and that takes you to the new CST NSPS website. So if you go back to the top of that page for me. So yeah, there's a couple, yeah. There you go.
The website is extremely navigable. It's very straightforward. I remember a couple of years ago trying to find information about it, and it was buried in the NSPS website. And it is anything you want to know is here.
The board spent quite a bit of money doing two things. One, getting this website so it's, first of all, attractive and functional. And then the other thing is they went through every exam or every exam question, and throughout, it wasn't too long ago where you would have a question on the exam asking you to do a temperature adjustment for a steel tape, or how to use a plumber. We don't just do that stuff anymore. So, They've revamped their bank of questions. I think they have something like 14,000 questions that come out. So you won't see the same exam anytime, right? So they have 4 different exams that cycle through every testing period, or 4 times a year, I should say. And then those questions are now randomly picked also. And I will say, if you, for some reason, somebody doesn't pass the exam, it gets reviewed by the board to see if there's any questions that may have more than one valid answer or something like that.
And I assume that question bank closely follows the, the NYSE's question bank, probably same type, same groups of questions.
Yeah, their questions are all geared toward their work groups.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of touched on a question that was bouncing around in my head a little bit. As the profession of land surveying and mapping and geospatial type of work, as technology kind of advances along, these tests and these certifications, do they start to expand a little bit more on the use of, say, like high density laser scanning or usage of point clouds and management of data, whereas in the past it was a lot more field calculations and maybe hand drafted type work?
Yeah, they strive to stay current with the technology, but still have a basis in the historical reasoning and how the technology is working. Yeah, the board is very proactive. And they weren't always. I mean, it used to be the same exams for years and years and years, but now it's fresh.
Mr. Brooks, would you have any suggestions, or on the website, is there a suggestion books or other paper resources that one can get to help them self-study and prepare for each level?
Yeah, they do have suggested books, but it's like 30 of them, 40 of them or something. And when I do an awareness class, and that's done a couple times a year. One of them's at the conference, and I talk about that. I think the timing is like 2 minutes per question. So if you're bringing in 15 books with you, or 5 books even, and you don't know those books, you've just wasted too much time of your exam.
Certainly.
And I talk about how actually to take an exam, which is, a lot of the CSTs we deal with have not had any college experience, or they've been out of college for a while. So an exam testing, as you know, is a skill set, right? So we cover that too. And in fact, even in the New York State Pacific, we spent quite a bit of time talking about the skill set required to pass that exam. Skill set and strategy, I guess.
Right. Taking the exam is a whole battle in itself, regardless of what the content is. So coming from, I haven't been out of school that long, but, for people that are going to get into this program, those practice exams, I would imagine, are going to be such a vital resource to get from level to level. It's so nice to see that they have those on the website, and they're free right here on the website, I'm seeing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then, so
Yeah.
I'm seeing she's on the website there, and are there calculator requirements like the state level as well, or can?
Yeah, it follows the NCSS requirements.
Okay.
And it's open book, of course, and you bring your books in, but no loose paper. It's all that stuff, just like a testing center.
Gotcha.
And that's all up to your proctor to enforce.
Right. Very good.
Or police, I guess.
Sure. I'm just looking over our outline, folks, and we've hit most of the big topics that we were here to discuss about the CST program. Does anyone else have any final comments or questions for Mr. Brooks?
Keith, if I could, I just want to throw out another resource.
Yeah.
It's owned by a private company, but it's a www.learncst. And that has a study component to it with then a sample exam after that. So the student could sign up for that. There's a couple levels. There's the free level, still free now, that you can sign up an account and then you can work through. There we go. You can work through the work groups, and at the end of that review you're doing, you can test out, and then you can go to the next level. They have level 1, 2, and they just rolled out level 3 like within the last year, I believe. I have not looked at level 3.
Very nice.
And they also have an account where they have study groups. So, and some actual instruction. So if somebody is at the level 1 level, that may be beneficial to them.
Right. Yeah, that looks like a really good resource, and that's right on that resource page on NSPS.
Right. It's not an NSPS site though. It is
Right.
a private company that owns that site.
Right. Nice. So that's pretty straightforward for people that are going to get involved. It's going to, this website's probably going to be their best resource on top of what we're discussing here, but I'm going to really recommend anyone interested in this program, and I'm going to give this to my guys at our office, of just kind of combing through this website and really getting used to the website and what resources are there. Kudos to NSPS for putting this together. It looks great, and it's so easy to track through.
When Patty and I started on this journey, there were 6 CST in New York State, and now we're up around 150, which makes us the ranking level. Of course, start down in Florida, where it's required for all municipal contracts. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They have 428, and so we're up at around 150, a little bit less, I think.
Nice. And now, do you see more people going the office route or the field route, or both?
I would say I see more people going the field route. But again, percentages, I can reach out to the NSPS staff and they can supply me with percentages, which I think I will. Be just good to know anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Would you say that going through this process of going through the levels makes somebody more open to possibly going and taking the LS exam?
I think it builds the level of confidence, which each level you go up. I see more confidence in the daily work life of the people I'm familiar with on a personal level. So yes.
Is there a benefit to the employer knowing that their employees have taken this test and they can almost use it as a gauge to tell if their employee has hit a certain threshold of knowledge? You know, if they've taken a test, they've proved that they know how to do it, type deal.
I would say every employer who is focused on business has like the bottom 10% that if he has to do a layoff, he knows where to start, or she knows where to start. And if you're up in the CST program, they keep you off that bottom 10%.
It's a good point. It's a really valid point. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It's just it's another tool in the toolbox to set you apart from other people in the industry and other people in your own company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you get put in that situation, well, that's the life we live in, I guess.
Yeah. And, you know, there is the pool of people interested in land surveying has definitely shrunken. And I see the employers doing whatever they can to maintain their employee base.
I started looking.
Not only Brooks and Brooks, but Control Point is super focused on that.
Yeah, I started looking through some of those sample tests, and there's some tough questions on there, even for someone. I've been licensed for a while now. I'd have to, maybe remember how to do some of that stuff that's on there.
Yeah.
It's a good refresher.
Yeah. Which is why the Learn CST site is, a lot of people find a lot of benefit in that.
Cool.
I just wanted to backtrack a little bit. You had mentioned that I don't know if I heard you correctly, in the state of Florida, certain municipal contracts require that you use certified survey technicians on that project. Do you know of any other states that might have similar requirements for certain kind of projects, or local municipalities that might be
I believe
more in our region?
I believe Texas and Minnesota.
Do you know if there's any states like, like maybe neighboring states to New York that are thinking about it or have mentioned stuff like that, or is it kind of just unique to certain areas?
Right. NSPS at one time, I don't know if I was on the board then or if it was Patty. They started trying to push the program to the local DOT regional engineers. It didn't get any traction. But no, to answer your question, no, I'm not aware of any adjoining state or contiguous state that uses the program for the municipal contracting level.
Well, still, to your point from before, it would certainly not hurt a company to have, when you submit an employee roster for qualifications request or something, to be able to show that you have a certain level of certified survey technicians on staff that would be working on their project.
Oh, absolutely. Most of these projects start off with a qualification basis component to it. Ultimately, it ends up to, out of that core, who is the lowest bidder, but still, to get up to that level to be considered, it's got to be quality based. And if you're showing that you're supporting the staff that's out doing the work, every time a field crew leaves your office, they're kind of taking your license with them, right? Your license and your decisions are only as good as your field crew. Period. The end.
Yep.
True.
Absolutely. Are there any more questions out there or anything else we want to cover?
I don't have anything on my end that I can think of at the moment.
And I'm very available. So this is one of my passions. I love it. And to be a guest on on the Young Professionals Forum is fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, that was my next question for you, is that if anybody wanted to reach out, whether it be the regionals or just an employee that wants to learn more information, should they contact you? I know your information is on the website.
Yeah, they can contact me.
Very good.
They're better off contacting me because I can't say no.
That's great. Well, if we're all set with questions and comments here, I just want to say thank you again for Mr. Brooks for joining us today. And thank you to all the YP committee members for taking time out of your busy schedules to do this webinar series with us today. And I hope that you all had enjoyed yourselves, and I look forward to kind of furthering this within the NYSAPLS, within discussions in the YP committee, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the CSD program. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Brooks, for helping us out with this.
You know where I am. Reach out.
All right.
You.
Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.